I'm in a hospital room again. This time, I'm the one in the bed. I'm opening my eyes and trying to focus on what's around me. White sheets, beige curtains, an oxygen tube at the bottom of my nose. I'm waking up from surgery. I can hear the faint sound of someone moaning. Someone's in pain. I try to wiggle my fingers, but my hand hurts because of the needle taped to it. And now I'm becoming aware of this pain in my pelvic area. Stitches. And I start to realize that the moaning is coming from me. That noise is coming from inside my throat, which feels dry and painful. I went under for this surgery. It's all coming back to me. The last thing I remember was being on an operating table with surgical nurses swarming around me. The surgery removed my fallopian tubes and ovaries. I'm still processing what's just happened. They've taken out healthy ovaries so that I can prevent myself from getting ovarian cancer, which is the cancer that my mom has. I have a gene that predisposes me to this cancer. Now, I'm fully conscious, and things are happening. The nurse comes around to check on me. My oncologist comes around to do his post-surgery check. He tells me the surgery went well and gives my hands a little squeeze. And now here is my husband, Stephen, who has come to take me home. The anesthesia has made me woozy, and I'm in and out of consciousness the whole time. With this surgery, it's like a switch has been flicked. Take out your ovaries, and you're in menopause. Just like that. That's me in surgical menopause. In the lead up to this surgery, I've been reading about how ovaries play a role in keeping your heart healthy, your bones strong, and your brain functioning. So, what happens if you don't have any ovaries? At home that night, my eyes are suddenly open at 2 a.m. I mean wide open, fully awake in the dark. There's a vacuum of thought and feeling, a foundational and strange calmness. Why is it that for me, the only way to not get ovarian cancer was to not have ovaries? This is the first question that disrupts the stillness. And then the questions come to me fast and furious about ovaries, about menopause, pelvic pain, osteoporosis, heart attacks, hysterectomies, uteruses, and vaginas. One thing leads to another. So many questions. At 3 a.m., I've made a decision to answer these questions and to do it using this podcast. But there's one person I need to check in with first. So how are you feeling, Mom?
I've just come back from chemo, which is chemo number 5, which began in January 2024. And I have one more to go.
Yes, my mom, Teresa, is back in chemo. If you're new to the show, my mom has a genetic recurring form of ovarian cancer. This year will be her 6th year dealing with it, in and out of chemotherapy. I went home to Halifax, Nova Scotia to visit and to talk to her about my plans for Overlooked. And, I've got a lot of great feedback for the show from listeners who have left reviews and who have written to me on email and who've loved the show and who say that they feel really seen by it. They've said to me when listeners have written in, I hope you keep this going. But for the purpose of the podcast, it feels like we've come to the end of your story on Overlooked, right? Do you think so or no?
Yes, because when you put forward the idea of why don't I collect all your little audio diary snippets, when I consented and when we decided to go into this, the goal was to get people aware of the in-between healing with chemotherapy, for example. In my case, it was chemotherapy, but the in-between from one chemo to the next. Yes, you showed me, I remember you showed me all the emails, was it, that people wrote, and
the reviews,
and it touched me so much that there's this huge community out there that could identify with exactly what was going on with me. I just vocalized it. And yeah, that I think did its job, sort of. I mean, I hope, which was raising awareness.
Yeah.
And so, that's where we've come full circle now.
Yeah. I think the thing is, when people say, I hope you're going to do more, I do feel like doing more, because in the process of doing this podcast, there's so many other questions that have come up, right? Like, we started to find out more about the ovaries, only to find out that actually we don't know that much about the ovaries. And how come we never talk about ovarian health? So as I started to do this more, I've had all these questions arise. And what I want to do is keep Overlooked going in a second season, but start to expand and look at all these other overlooked questions in women's health.
So I guess that's what you should look at now.
So I have your blessing to keep it going beyond your story?
Absolutely. I mean, why not? This is like, you throw a little pebble in the water and the ripples what you want to watch out for is the ripples, such as menopause issues. And I don't know, there's like so many, like in our lives, we keep confronting these issues, and the idea is to arm yourself with knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I started this episode waking up in my own hospital bed this time around in menopause.
Instant menopause.
Yeah. Just add water and take out your ovaries. So menopause is fascinating to me. I hope to do a lot on menopause. I think menopause is having its time in the sun right now. And there's a lot that's being said about menopause. But the thing I'm curious about is perimenopause. You and I used to have this argument in my early 40s, late 30s. I used to come up with a problem and I used to say, I'm putting on weight, or my work is not satisfactory, or my marriage is problematic, or my children are a pain in the ass, or my friend this, or something. And you would always say one thing. What would you say?
Premenopause.
And I would say, how can everything be put down to perimenopause? And you would say, no, it really is. And I'm tempted to think that was the case, although I still disagree.
I told you so. I
still disagree. But it's a very powerful time in a woman's life, and we don't understand it, and we haven't studied it, and we're trying to solve it without really getting a firm grasp of it. So perimenopause is fascinating to me, and hopefully I can do some episodes on that as well. But there's other conditions that are just mind-boggling. Like we were talking about endometriosis, for example.
That is like a whole book with like many chapters that you need to go, page by page kind of thing.
But I think what I want to do is try and keep the focus on one person's story told singularly. The power of one person telling their story to shed light on something larger is really important. So I'm going to try and go looking for women with stories that can illuminate the way. Painful and difficult though it may be to tell those stories, I think it's important that they are told.
It's wonderful to have your kids, your daughters know more about it or bring more knowledge to the table with these conditions, because it kind of opens my eyes to when you talk about, oh, mom, you know what? This is what it is. And this is what happens. It makes me want to go and look further into something I've never looked at before, and which I have gone through before without really looking at it and knowing what it is and dealing with it in a, better, different way. And you begin to look at your body differently and think, oh, that's what I went through at that time. So this is what it was. And getting to know about it in a realistic, scientific, thorough, knowledgeable way.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome, baby.
So welcome to season 2 of Overlooked. Over the next 5 episodes, I'm bringing you stories about endometriosis, ADHD, cervical testing, menopause, and ovarian health. My hope is that you'll be better informed about these topics and more confident about advocating for your own health. This podcast is the first step in building a community around women's health so that no one is overlooked. If you'd like to be part of this community, get in touch. Drop us an email at overlookedpodcast23@gmail.com. That's what listener Cornelia Mead did, and she sent us this voice memo.
My name is Cornelia Mead, and I have ovarian cancer. My daughter and I have listened to all of the Overlooked episodes, and we are very grateful to Golda and Teresa Arthur. I was so glad to find this podcast, Overlooked. Ovarian cancer is rare enough that it's hard to find people who share your challenges. I was extra glad to find out that Teresa's cancer mirrored my own, diagnosed about the same time, going through about the same regimen of testing and treatment. The best of all was to hear her attitude, curious about what was happening to her, wanting to understand the science, but overall a positive attitude. Let's do this. Let's move ahead. With this lovely family modeling the best attitude and approach, I feel I now have a better guide in my own journey. I too have a wonderful supportive family, and I try to have a positive attitude, and I hope and believe it will make a difference. Thank you, Golda.
If you feel inspired to send us your story, you can record yourself like Cornelia did and email us. You can even record yourself through the website, www.overlookedpod.com. And if there's a topic you'd like to hear on the show, get in touch and let me know. Overlooked is written and produced by me, Golda Arthur. Jessica Martinez de Hoz is the show's associate producer. The next episode of Overlooked is about endometriosis, and you can listen to it right now.